Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Match Reaction Show, where I will be previewing, instant reactioning, and reviewing every single Arsenal game for the rest of the season. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you've been here before. And of course, if you have been here before, you probably noticed something very, very different. This used to be a channel called Arsenal Unfiltered, both on podcast platforms and on YouTube, but now we are the Arsenal Match Reaction Show. Arsenal Unfiltered turned one, and it had me reflecting that I wanted to change a couple of things. I wanted to talk more about the football, less about the fluff around the outside of it and all the politics and all the ongoing stuff. So the Arsenal Match Reaction Show, previously Arsenal Unfiltered, is now a show all about the matches, previewing them, reacting to them, reviewing how we did in the games, and generally covering the football around Arsenal as opposed to all the other stuff as well. So we have a new name, we have a new purpose, and we have a new logo as well. You might have seen that if you've come on YouTube or Spotify or any other podcast device, you'll have seen that new logo, except potentially Apple. Apple Podcasts are giving me a little bit of hell today and over the last 24 hours, where it simply will not update my logo, which is very frustrating because I spent a fair bit of time kind of trying to create that and curating how that'll look. So yeah, really annoying. So if you still see the Arsenal Unfiltered logo on Apple Podcasts, I do apologise, but yes, we have changed. Arsenal Unfiltered is now the Arsenal Match Reaction Show. What to expect from this show going forward? Well, this show, like I say, it's all about the matches now. So we won't be doing too many episodes in international breaks, but you'll get far more coverage on the matches, deeper dives on the matches, and we are going to start that process today with an Arsenal versus Fulham preview episode. Really exciting to have the matches back following the international break. I don't know about you guys, but I get so bored during the international break. I need the football back, and we have had a fairly positive international break, which I'm going to talk about first because I think it sets the context for this game. Before I dive into it, make sure you go and hit follow or subscribe, because this is now we're focusing on YouTube a little bit as well and doing this via video. So follow on kind of Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you follow there. Subscribe on YouTube to make sure that you get all the information you could ever possibly need about an Arsenal game, before it, just after it, and a couple of days after it. We're going to do that whole journey for every single game with you. So yeah, really exciting times here at the Arsenal Match Reaction Show. If you are watching on YouTube, I need to figure this out. This mic scenario where it doesn't seem to register the mic. I think it's something to do with my background. Leave it with me. I think the background's very cool. This is a photo I took at the Arsenal Manchester City game last year where we won 5-1, and I just think the lighting's really cool. It's off the side of the stadium, so I wanted to use that as the background. But like I say, it is affecting the mic ever so slightly, so apologies about that if you're watching on YouTube. Let's talk the football then, because I'm 3 minutes in and I haven't spoken about Arsenal versus Fulham, and I'm going to carry that on because I'm going to talk about the players that we had over the international break. And let's start with England, shall we? Because we had a couple of goal scorers for England. Saka scored that wonderful goal in the first England game, and Eze followed it up in the second one with a goal for himself. Now, Eze didn't play in the first game, and Miles Lewis-Skelly didn't play in the second game. They both had, Eze and Miles Lewis-Skelly didn't play in the first game. They both had much bigger roles in the second game. And Rice and Saka were both subbed off, both started both games and both subbed off in both games. So not too bad, to be honest. It's always good for players to get goals, and I think Saka, Eze, Miles Lewis-Skelly definitely needed the minutes. I'm not sure Rice needed the minutes quite so much, but I am pleased to see that we've had a couple of goals scored. It's always good to boost the players' confidence and, well, keep them going, really. And I think it just, the Saka goal especially just emphasises his importance to that team, and hopefully, we'll keep him ticking along. Before he got injured last season, he was in electric form, was on course to break the assist record, and we want him to be back there. He's not quite got back there yet because he's had injuries again so far this season, but hopefully we're starting to see a little bit of a turnaround, and hopefully we will see him come back to that imperious form that I think would have made him one of the best players in the league that season. So yeah, really interested to see how his form gets on, and can he continue this, because the goal was superb. I mean, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It is really, really brilliant. I can't believe they gave him that much space in the penalty area where he likes to be. Other goal scorers, of course, it's Mikel Merino, the defensive midfielder. I say that with sarcasm if you're new here. He is not a defensive midfielder. He's a bloody brilliant player. And Mikel Merino scored 2 goals in the most recent Spain internationals. He has 6 goals in 6 games for Spain. A wonderful return. Is doing really, really well. I believe it's 2 headers. I haven't seen those. The 2 headers would be very welcome on the weekend if he wants to do that against Fulham as well. Martinelli also scored in a weird result for Brazil, where they went 2-0 up and then lost 3-2 against Japan in the end. He scored the second goal, I believe, and that was within 19 minutes. They were cruising, and Japan turned it round very, very quickly. So yeah, a really interesting game for Brazil. But luckily for us at Arsenal, Big Gabby unused in that game, so he will be flying back a little bit fresh. Some other notable players: Timber played twice. Norgard got a full game, which I think is really useful for us, getting some minutes in his legs. Zubimendi, Dalman, and Nwaneri also got useful minutes over the break. And Dalman and Nwaneri were in the youth teams for England, scoring goals, doing what they do. So it'll be interesting, especially from a Nwaneri point of view. Stick around because I'm going to talk about him in a little while, about will he play against Fulham, because I think there's a case for it. I really do. But let's get on to it then. Fulham. We are playing Fulham this weekend at 5:30. Sorry, a little fly got in there. At 5:30, and this has not been a happy hunting ground for us in recent years. Fulham away, this is Fulham away. We have really struggled in this game, and I think it's cost us big in a last couple of setups. Basically, we have drawn and lost to them in 2024 and 2023, both in the end pretty damaging, especially the 2023 loss. That was in that Christmas period, if you remember, where it felt like we just could not score a goal. We were dominating teams. West Ham was another game in that period where we were dominating and we could not get the ball in the back of the net. So that was a 2-1 defeat. We drew 1-1 in 2024, both in December, both pretty damaging. I think this is an important opportunity for Arsenal. We have built out our attacking lineup with Eze, Gyökeres. I know Madueke is injured, but Madueke, we've added these players in, and we want to see the return in games like this. This is the perfect example, right? A game which we lost last year away at Fulham that we need to go and take 3 points from this year if we're going to go and challenge for the title. These are the ones where we need to turn it around. At the end of the day, our Big Six record is impeccable, really, really good, and hopefully that carries on. Of course, it has carried on to an extent so far. Good performances against Liverpool, Manchester United and Manchester City. Well, I say good performances. Your mileage on that might vary, but for me, I think we did very well against Liverpool and got unlucky. We did well against Man City and got Haalanded. It's okay to get a draw there. And the Man United game, 3 points is 3 points. Doesn't bother me, especially in the first game of the season away. So I think we've got that Big Six record, and that's really useful to fall back on. But we need to beat some of these lower down teams. With all due respect to Fulham, they are a cracking side, and I think Marco Silva is a cracking manager. But we need to beat these sides. These are the kind of teams that if we're going to change our world and start winning Premier Leagues, we need to change these results. We can't be losing away at Fulham. We need to go and get a result. And we've seen some pretty, I think we described them as boring performances from Arsenal, boring 2-0s, 3-0s, where we've just kind of professionally got the job done. And actually, I'm well up for that in this game, to be honest, because even though Fulham have conceded 3 goals in their last 2 games, so 6 goals, so they've conceded 3 goals twice, sorry, I should say, in their last 2 games. I'm not really too worried when you come off an international break about the level of performance, the number of goals we score. I just want 3 points, keep the clean sheet. That would be very, very useful. Maybe a Gyökeres goal if I'm being like really, really picky and hopeful. He's in a difficult run of form right now. Whilst I think his general play at Arsenal has been better than we expected, he's not scoring for Sweden either. They're having real issues and are basically not going to qualify for the World Cup. So a very disappointing campaign from their side of things, and he's not able to contribute there. Hopefully in this Fulham game he gets a goal, because I think he needs it, probably for the confidence more than anything, because his general play and his contributions around the pitch have been far better than I expected them to be. It's just been him getting opportunities to finish that we've needed a little bit more of. So fingers crossed he gets a goal. Anyway, back to Fulham. They've lost 3. I've written lost 3 of their last 2, but I mean lost 2 of their last 3. They're 14th of the table, so they're not looking as strong as they were last season at all. And and one of the games that they lost was against Villa, and that was one of the games they conceded 3 goals in. And if you've watched any of Villa this year, you'll know whilst they've picked up in recent weeks, they were really struggling to score goals at the start of the season. They are not a team that is exactly on fire. So, it's a weird one to concede 3 goals against them. I think there is opportunity in this game for Arsenal. They have danger men, of course they do. They've got Iwobi, who eventually, ended up with them from us, and I think he's had a cracking career at Fulham since he left Arsenal. But they have Jimenez and Muniz as doubts, really. I think Muniz is definitely out. Jimenez is a maybe. Might be the other way around. Apologies, but these guys are their goal scorers, and they're currently playing with Josh King, who it feels like there's a lot of excitement about Josh King as a young player, but we don't know really how good he is, and you would hope that William Saliba and Gabriel are 2 players that can absolutely deal with a young player. So yeah, Fulham have got danger men. They've got Emil Smith Rowe, of course. They've got half of Arsenal basically, with Bernd Leno there as well. But remember, the quality that we have and the strength in depth that we have, I do really think we should be doing a very, very good job about this. You're never 100% certain about selection when the team comes back from an international break, but we are going to talk about the most difficult selection decision I think that Mikel Arteta has, and that is in the 8/10 role that Martin Odegaard plays in. Of course, he will not be out. He will not be out. He will be out. He will not be playing, because we have had it confirmed that Martin Odegaard is basically out until the November international break. And while I say confirmed, that's from Sammy Mockbell of the BBC, and then obviously reported wider than that since. We haven't heard from Arteta yet at the time of recording. This is way before his press conference. So, I'm sure that will be confirmed in the press conference. I hope no other injuries are confirmed alongside it. Hopefully, we all come back nice and healthy. But who will replace Martin Odegaard in the Arsenal midfield? That is the big question. We've seen real frustration from Arsenal fans when Mourinho's gone in to replace Martin Odegaard already this season. So Zubimendi, Rice and Mourinho is not a midfield that is popular. I have okay feelings about it. We've used it in games like Liverpool and Manchester City. And for those games, I totally see why you would do that. I think it's really kind of post-results analysis for everyone to say, we should have played Eze, or, we should have played Odegaard and when he wasn't fit or something. If the results had gone worse, if we'd got run through by Liverpool and Manchester City, everyone would be looking at Mikel Arteta and going, what are you doing? And actually, I think it's pretty fair. You can only analyse what you've got before the game. It's pretty fair to see the way Liverpool was scoring goals. It's pretty fair to see or know how Manchester City usually approach a game. They obviously didn't approach the game, and Arteta changed it in that game. Usually they approach it far more attacking. He made the change to correct that, so you've got to give him credit there. But before the game started, I think it makes sense to use Mourinho in there, not as a defensive midfielder, but as someone who can contribute a little bit better in the press than maybe Eze can or Nwaneri can. But for this game, Fulham, I'm not sure. I can't see, even though, like I said at the start, Mourinho is scoring goals freely for Spain, I can't really see him being the right choice for this match. I think Fulham have leaked a couple of goals, 3 goals in their last 2 games, like I mentioned. We need to go and exploit that as much as we can, get the game done early, and like I say, a professional 2-0 win is absolutely fine with me. So let's talk then about Eze and Nwaneri, because they're the other 2 who could go into that spot. Eze is the better player. There's no doubt about that. Nwaneri is still developing. He's got work to do. So he would give the ultimate quality in that spot. And I think we've seen points during this season where he's played in central areas and everyone's really, really liked it. I mean, I have as well. He is a player, and I've described this on previous podcasts. So if you're a repeat listener, you'll know about my opinion on this. He's a player who stands in the 10, whereas Odegaard arrives in the 10, and they're slightly different the way they do it. Eze likes to receive the ball in there, and he likes to receive the ball standing still. I spoke about this when we were going to sign him. He likes to receive the ball standing still between the lines and then create from there. Whereas Odegaard, I think he would much rather drive into that 10 space or pass into that 10 space and then follow the ball. So it's slightly different stylistically. And I think when you play Eze in the 10, you require that little bit more out of Martin Zubimendi, because Martin Zubimendi will become then the player who has to progress the ball from our third or the middle third in between the lines and make those line splitting passes. When he came on for Martin Odegaard in the most recent game, he did a really good job of that. You know, we've got to give him credit, and he played really, really well. Basically, didn't quite, but basically set up the 2 goals. Was involved very, very keenly in both. And of course, the pass to Timber for the penalty was my favourite. That was really, really well crafted. So if Eze plays, we'll need more from Martin Zubimendi. Whereas I think if Nwaneri plays, one bit of his development that we're seeing a lot more is doing more of that Martin Odegaard role, where he comes a bit deeper, picks the ball up, ticks the game on, ticks our build up on, and tries to support from slightly deeper. I think that is an evolution that we're seeing that Mikel Arteta is coaching into Ethan Nwaneri, because Ethan Nwaneri is typically a player who has played in the final third. He's played in, the 10. He's worked really, really hard and scores a lot of goals in those positions. Right wing as well for us last season. We saw a lot of that. He's typically a player who is impacting the final third of a game. I think he's being coached a little bit in this 8/10 role to do a little bit more of what Martin Odegaard does, and actually come deep for the ball, keep the ball moving, and be really brave and progress us through the lines. And I think if we are doing that, I think it's a really, really interesting conversation about how we then get into the spaces between the opposition defence and midfield. I think if you play Nwaneri in that middle position, we're going to have to play Eze off the left, because then he can drift inside, become that kind of number 10, and Ricardo Calafiori can get down the side of him. If we play Eze in the middle, I think you probably have a player who fills that. You put a little bit more pressure on Martin Zubimendi, but you allow yourself a Gabriel Martinelli, Leandro Trossard off the left, who might be a little bit more penalty box focused, a little bit higher up the pitch, aren't necessarily going to drift into the 10. Although, to be fair, we have seen Leandro Trossard do a bit of that this season. So there are options, basically, for Arsenal. For me, I would really love to see Ethan Nwaneri trusted in that position. Gabriel Martinelli, Leandro Trossard have been doing absolutely brilliantly this season, but you've got to admit they probably weren't the plan off that left wing, right? Probably the plan was to play Eze off that left wing and Martin Odegaard in the middle. I'd like to see us prep for that over these games, and I'd like to see Eze, with the quality that he has, be as close to Victor Gyökeres as possible, be as close to the goal as possible, and I think that means making him the left winger, giving Ethan Nwaneri that spot in the middle. He's got Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice alongside him, so let's trust him. Let's make sure that he gets some game time that he really, really needs, and get Eze as close to the goal as we can, and then use Martinelli and Trossard, as they have been used sometimes this season, as really powerful impact subs. We are at 18 minutes, so we are nearly at time. So I'm just going to quickly predict the lineup before I ask a very short favour of you guys. Let's do it then. It's going to be David Raya in goal. We know that. I think Jurrien Timber is probably going to play, even though he played twice in the international break. Saliba, Gabriel, and Ricardo Calafiori. Just a note, I do feel for Miles Lewis-Skelly, and I hope he doesn't lose his England place because of Ricardo Calafiori's form. I think over the next 6 games we should be able to find some time for Miles Lewis-Skelly. There's the Sparta Prague game, there's the Cup game against Brighton. I really want to see him start both of those and maybe get a start in the Premier League. A lot of games coming up, maybe Burnley, one of those games, Sunderland perhaps. I really want to see him play. I always want to see the Hale End boys play. They're fantastic and really, really need those minutes. So fingers crossed. But I think for this game, you go with the player in form, Ricardo Calafiori. You cannot knock that man's performances so far this year. Rice, Zubimendi, Nwaneri, already spoken about that so far in this episode. And I would go Saka, Gyökeres and Eze up front. Of course, we're still missing the likes of Noni Madueke, Hincapié, Odegaard, like we've already spoken about, Havertz. So we are without some key players that's affecting those selection decisions, but hopefully very soon we will be back at full fitness. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today on this episode of the Arsenal Match Reaction Show. Like I say, if you were looking for Arsenal Unfiltered, this is Arsenal Unfiltered, just with a new brand and a new face. And if you want to kind of join me as I preview, react to and review every single Arsenal match for the rest of this season, and you want to get all that content and enjoy the games for longer and, get excited about them, get to relive them in lots of different ways, make sure you go and hit follow wherever you get your podcasts from, or if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. It really, really helps. And what what it does do is it shows other Arsenal fans this page, this content, and helps them see more content about the club. So that's my mission, to kind of get these episodes into the ears of every single Arsenal fan that I can. So if you would be so kind to have a follow or a subscribe wherever you're listening from, that would really, really help. And if you're feeling super generous, a review or a like on YouTube really goes a long way as well. I'm going to close it up there, guys. There's going to be an instant reaction from me about the Fulham game. Again, I'm going to try and do it on video, and then there will be a match review, of course, on Sunday as well. Sunday or Monday, probably. Leave that with me, and I'll make sure you get your episodes. All that's left to say, guys, is thank you so much for following. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.